We want to go agricultural, mainly, of course, the fact that there are many initiatives in Africa and right across the world that seek to make agriculture a much better experience and more fulfilling for both the farmer and the consumer. And on that note, we start off in the western part of Kenya, where Lake Victoria has been described as a lifeline for many of East Africa's populations. But in the recent past, the lake has struggled to provide for families living and relying on it for fish and livelihoods due to years and years of indiscriminate overfishing. However, some few ingenious Kenyans from the lakeside have come up with new ways of rearing the same fish found in the lake through floating fish cages. On this week's episode of The Next Frontier, Philip Keitani visited one such farmer and brings us this story.
Lake Victoria illustrates one of the quintessential dilemmas of today's world. How much short-term gain can humans continue to seek out of a system that is being driven to a potential breaking point? Despite pollution from agriculture, mining, sewage, altered water flows from dam building, invasive fishes and plants, and the pressure of millions of people living on its shores, Lake Victoria continued to produce nearly 1 million tons of fish each year that contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to the economies of Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. But now the fall in fish stocks in this lake is being felt on dinner tables across the 3 East African countries. This week, The Next Frontier takes you fishing in Lake Victoria, and not just any kind of fishing, but cage fishing. But after years of this neglect, a few investors are now pumping in millions of shillings to Lake Victoria's cage fishing. Meet Otieno Okello, a new breed of fisherman in the lake who rears fish in its natural habitat through the use of cages.
The essence of cage fish farming essentially is to complement, I would be bold enough to say that we have to look for ways of getting fish to the table of Kenyans.
Okello takes us into his fish farm deep in the lake, and as the water rises up and down, creating beautiful waves as the wind blows soothingly from the lake. And after 10 minutes on the speedboat, we saw the floating structures, which happens to be Okello's fish cages.
The fishermen going into the wild are no longer getting as much fish as they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago. And we have to look at ways of filling in the gap of the demand for fish.
The practice of cage aquaculture, banned for now in Tanzanian waters, but growing rapidly in Uganda and Kenya, might provide food and income security for small-scale fish farmers and reduce the widening gap between demand and supply of fish from the lake. Okello tells me the cage aquaculture can be disruptive if done incorrectly, a move that might have far-reaching consequences to the wild fish populations and those who depend on them.
Cage culture is basically you bring in your fingerlings, and again, the fisheries department has the task of ensuring that anybody who is doing cage culture, they know who is in the lake and what are they doing in the lake. And I think we'll get to a level where they will be able to determine where your fingerlings are coming from, so that you're not bringing in a strain of tilapia or a strain of a fish that is not indigenous to this lake that can change the environment.
Fish caging is also expected to bridge the gap in fish production as demand continues to outstrip production. Figures from the Fisheries Department show that fish production from Lake Victoria has slumped by 50%, resulting in shortages that have driven up prices.
The fishermen realize that we are not competing against them, because at the end of the day, the demand for fish is huge. What you get today in Lake Victoria, you hardly get any tilapia, and if you do get tilapia, it's very, very expensive. It's almost like it's a rare thing these days to get tilapia from the lake.
Okello is not alone. Many other local and international investors are rushing into cage fish farming in the lake after President Uhuru Kenyatta assented to the Fisheries Management and Conservation Bill that will regulate fish imports and exports.
It's fish in the natural environment, it's in the lake. So the fact that you're feeding it, notwithstanding, you're looking at the same quality of fish as if you'd get from the, I would dare say, even better tasting than the wild catch, because it's more controlled, but it's very taste and the flesh is as good as the wild catch because of the natural environment in which it is being reared.
About 3 tons of fish are harvested from the farm twice per week in different sizes, ranging from 350 grams to 700 grams. The farm gate price of 1 kilogram of fish is about 300 shillings. The fish is sold to hotels and restaurants in Kisumu, Homa Bay, Mbita, Migori, Kakamega, and Nairobi. With diminishing volumes of tilapia in Lake Victoria and the rise in demand for the same fish out there, some ingenious farmers like Okello have found ways of raising the same fish within the lake by introduction of cage fish farming. Philip Keitang for The Next Frontier.
Well, of course, such innovations are the ones that will make a difference for African agriculture. Of course, people going that extra mile to employ technology in ways that will make them get that much more money for their, well,